readings of the same reading in the various languages. And now, with the readings concluded, the Holy Father Pope Francis will give his catechesis for today.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, benvenuti, buongiorno.
Dear brothers and sisters, welcome, buongiorno.
Nel nostro percorso di catechesi,
In our catechetical journey on old age, today we meditate on the dialogue between the risen Jesus and Peter at the end of John's Gospel. It is a moving dialogue from which shines all the love of Jesus for his disciples and also the sublime humanity of his relationship with them, in particular with Peter. A tender relationship, but not one that is melancholic. It is direct, strong, free, and open. A relationship between men based in truth. Thus, John's Gospel, so spiritual, so lofty, closes with a poignant request and an offer of love between Jesus and Peter. It is intertwined quite naturally with an argument between them. The evangelist alerts us. He is bearing witness to the truth of the facts. And it is these facts that the truth is to be sought. We can ask ourselves, are we capable of preserving the tone of this relationship of Jesus with the disciples? A style that is so open, so frank, so direct, so humanly real. What is our relationship like with Jesus? Is it like that with the disciples? Are we not instead very often tempted to close the testimony of the gospel in a sugary cocoon of revelation, to which is added our own circumstantial veneration? This attitude, which seems respectful, actually distances us from the real Jesus. It even becomes the occasion of a very abstract, very self-referential, very worldly talk of faith, which is not the talk of Jesus. Jesus is man-made, is God-made man. He speaks to us like a human being, with this tenderness, with this friendliness, with this closeness to us. Jesus is not like that sugary coat. He is close to us. In the course of Jesus' discussion with Peter, we find two passages that deal precisely with old age and the passage of time. The time of testimony, the time of life. The first passage of Jesus is warning to Peter, when you were young, you were self-sufficient. When you will be old, you will no longer be so much the master of yourself and your life. We can talk about myself, who has now to be pushed in a wheelchair. Old age brings us all these illnesses. We don't have that energy of young people. And your testimony will also be accompanied by weakness. You must be a witness to Jesus, even in your illness, even in death. St. Ignatius of Loyola says, we must give testimony just as we have lived. The end of life must be the end of a disciple's life. Jesus speaks to us according to our age. The evangelist adds his commentary explaining that Jesus was alluding to the extreme witness, that of martyrdom and death. But we can also understand more generally the meaning of this admonition. You will have to learn to allow yourselves to be instructed and be molded in your fragility, your helplessness, your dependence on others, even in dressing, in walking. But you follow me. With good health or lack of good health, when we are autonomous or not, what is important is to always follow Jesus. On our feet, running, slow, in a wheelchair, always following Jesus. The wisdom of following must find its way in the profession of faith. As Peter responds, Lord, you know I love you, even in the limited conditions of my weakness and old age. I like to speak with old people, looking at them in the eye, as their eyes, their brilliant eyes, as they give testimony to a life lived. And these we must conserve. This conversation between Jesus and Peter contains valuable teaching for all disciples, for all of us believers, and also for all the elderly. We must learn from our frailty to express the coherence of our witness of life under conditions largely entrusted to others, largely dependent on the initiative of others. With illness, old age, we are no longer autonomous as we were once. Even there, in our frailty, our faith grows. And there is a richness of a life of faith well lived. But again, we must ask ourselves, do we have a spirituality truly capable of interpreting the seasons, now long and widespread, of this time of our weakness entrusted to others, rather than to the power of our autonomy? How do we remain faithful to the lived sequel, to the promised love, to the justice sought in the time of our capacity for initiative, in the time of the fragility of dependency, or the leave of our protagonism to others? It is not easy to be not protagonists of our own lives anymore. This new life is also a time of triumph, certainly, beginning with a temptation, very human, undoubtedly, but also very insidious, so that we can preserve our protagonism. At a certain age, we can no longer be protagonists of our own lives. Old age makes sure that we are not able to do that. But there are many other things that we can still do in families and among friends. And this is the curiosity that comes to Peter. Peter wanted always to enter and to be curious in the lives of others, and Jesus says to him, be calm. Peter, seeing the beloved disciple following them, asked, does he have to be my following? Must he occupy my place? And Jesus responds, what does it matter to you? Take care of your own life. Don't be curious about matters of others. Just follow me. That's what is important. Follow Jesus in life and even in death, in good health, in sickness, Even when life is prosperous, when we are successful, even when things are difficult in life, even when we fall, when we want to unnecessarily be curious in the lives of others, Jesus will tell us, what does it matter to you? Just follow me. Old people should not be envious of young people who take their way, who occupy their place, who outlast them. The honor of their faithfulness to their sown love, their fidelity to the following of the faith they have believed in, even in conditions that bring them near to the leave of life, is their title of admiration for the generations to come and of grateful recognition from the Lord. We must learn to say goodbye. This is the say goodbye with a smile to society. Say goodbye to society, to other people. The life of an older person is a slow goodbye. I have lived my life. I have conserved my life, my faith. This is beautiful when an old person can say that. I have lived my life. I have done some good things. This peace that comes to us when an old person says goodbye is good. And also, as Maria, the brother of Lazarus, will become beautiful in our lives. This part of our life will never be taken away from us. Let us look at let us take care of the older persons so that we can help them live their wisdom. Then they can give us that wisdom of theirs. Let us listen to them. And on us, the elderly, let us look at the younger people with a smile for the young people as they follow their own street. This is what we have, the seeds we have sown. Even maybe we didn't have opportunities, we couldn't do certain things. An older person cannot be happy if he doesn't look at younger persons, and younger people can never be happy if they do not look to older persons. Thank you. We just listened to a very moving catechesis on old age and learning to say goodbye as our lives come to an end. And now, having listened to the Holy Father's catechesis, we will listen to the summaries and greetings in the various languages, as the Holy Father will also greet the people, the pilgrims who are in St. Peter's Square. And now the summary in French of the Pope's catechesis.
Que vous avez apporté à cette intention. Voici à présent le résumé en français de la catéchèse que vient de prononcer Sa Sainteté, le pape François. Frères et sœurs, poursuivant notre série de catéchèses sur la vieillesse, nous méditons aujourd'hui sur le dialogue entre Jésus ressuscité et Pierre. Ce dialogue émouvant révèle l'amour de Jésus pour ses disciples et toute son humanité dans son rapport avec eux, en particulier avec Pierre. Il s'agit d'une relation dans la vérité. Au cours de la discussion, il est question de la vieillesse dans la durée, le temps du témoignage tout au long de la vie. Dans la vieillesse, le témoignage à la suite du Christ s'accompagne de fragilité, d'impuissance, de dépendance à l'autre. Il faut alors apprendre de notre fragilité à exprimer la cohérence de notre témoignage de vie, dans les conditions d'une vie livrée à d'autres, dépendante de l'initiative des autres. Ce nouveau temps de la vieillesse est aussi un temps d'épreuve marqué par la tentation de rester protagoniste de l'histoire. Les personnes âgées ne doivent pas envier les jeunes qui prennent leur route, occupent leur poste, durent après plus qu'eux. L'honneur de leur fidélité à l'amour juré et la constance à la suite du Christ, même au seuil de la mort, sont leurs titres d'admiration pour les nouvelles générations. Et maintenant, le Saint-Père va saluer en italien les francophones.
Sono lieto di salutare i pellegrini dei paesi francofoni, in particolare il gruppo di pastorale giovanile e vocazionale in Savoia, nonché la parrocchia Santa Maria Santa Colomba in Valle. In questa settimana in cui si svolge il 10° incontro mondiale delle famiglie sul tema l'amore familiare e vocazione